What's happening, gang? It's your boy Retro back again with another reaction video. Yeah. Today we got another huge update. Now, you guys can probably already tell that it is going down. Just by that title alone, you guys are definitely going to want to check this one out, as it looks like we still have not seen the end of the saga of that Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis's legal battles after Judicial Watch just uncovered new evidence of her collusion with the Biden White House in order to attempt to try to interfere with the 2024 elections, guys. And I'm excited to get into this one, so we're not straight into it. All I ask that you guys please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Without further ado, let's hop straight into it, folks. Check this one out.
And today, the Georgia Supreme Court, they released a major decision in this Fulton County 2020 election interference case where President Donald Trump and 18 others are accused of illegally trying to overturn Georgia's presidential results. Well, we do have team coverage for you tonight explaining every single angle of this story. We first want to start with Zach Merchant to kind of get a bird's eye view of what we're looking at here, Zach.
Well, Faith, today this case took a big stumble in this building right behind me. It was not unanimous. 3 justices dissented, but the majority's decision here means effectively that Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis's time leading this prosecution is now over. But the case itself might not be. There is a chance another prosecutor could take it over.
Look, I know prosecution. I was in prosecution for 17 years. The type of people it attracts, right? They believe in justice, they believe in the rule of law, and they believe that cases should be prosecuted without fear, favor, or affection. And so there will be someone that is willing.
Former DeKalb County District Attorney Robert James said he is confident a new prosecutor will take over the case. But who that will be is a big question. The process will start soon. DA Willis today announced she'll be transferring jurisdiction of the case to the Prosecuting Attorney's Council of Georgia in the latest step in a historic legal saga.
This is the biggest case in the history of American jurisprudence.
In a statement, Willis said, quote, "I hope that whoever is assigned to handle the case will have the courage to do what the evidence and the law demand. It is up to the Prosecuting Attorney's Council to find a new DA or someone else to take over." Executive Director Pete Skandalakis admitted that might be difficult. And James said any prosecutor would have to answer big questions before signing on.
Do we have the bandwidth for it, the emotional and psychological bandwidth for it? Or is it something that we just rather not be involved with? The second thing is, do we have the resources?
But that doesn't mean the case has no chance. Skandalakis said in a phone interview with 11 Alive News, if he can't find an outside prosecutor to take it on, the Prosecuting Attorney's Council might take the case itself, adding, quote, "I think it's important that a conflict prosecutor, a neutral person, takes this case and makes a decision." So how fast could that all happen? That is the big question here. When I asked Pete Skandalakis about it earlier today, he said he hopes to have a new prosecutor lined up and ready to take this case when jurisdiction transfers to the Prosecuting Attorney's Council. He said he expects that to be just about 30 days from now. If that is the case, it would be a rapid development in a case that has, up to this point, taken a long time to get here, on a long road to get here. Grace King has been covering it all along the way. She joins us now live from outside the Fulton County Courthouse with a look at how we got here. Grace.
Well, Zach, the case has been stalled pretty much for the last 2 years, but originally it was moving pretty quickly. We saw 4 defendants take plea deals within weeks of the 2023 indictment, and the rest were preparing for trial. But that momentum, of course, stalled when there were a lot of questions about the district attorney's romantic involvement instead.
The Fulton County indictment began as a historic prosecution.
The indictment brings felony charges against Donald John Trump.
Legal experts say it essentially ended with historic mistakes.
It was a viable case and also a lot of prosecutorial missteps.
Defense attorneys accuse DA Fani Willis of financially benefiting from a romantic relationship with the special prosecutor she chose to lead the case.
This invoice makes me cry.
Records show Nathan Wade had earned at least $500,000 more than the others working on the case at the time of a February 2024 disqualification hearing.
I object to you getting records. You've been
intrusive into people's personal lives. You're confused. You think I'm on trial. These people are on trial for trying to steal an election in 2020. I'm not on trial, no matter how hard you try to put me on trial.
Willis argued their relationship ended prior to the indictment and that it would have no impact on a potential trial.
The romantic relationship ended before the indictment was returned, yes or no?
To a man, yes.
But the controversy never went away.
So I think what we're going to see is kind of a narrative of an office that was very ambitious, a DA that was very ambitious, and who, though, was unable to handle these large, sprawling cases.
This was complete silliness from the very beginning. The idea that this was some sort of revolutionary armed conflict going on, absurd. So a Republican DA might take it just to dismiss it, but no Democrat DA is going to take it on either. This is such a sprawling RICO case. It would be incredibly expensive for the counties involved in that case to pay for it. Who wants to do that? No one. This is going nowhere.
I believe that Pete Skandalakis has to make a very tough decision on whether or not he can find a district attorney that would take this case, find a private attorney that would take it, or would he do the noble thing, and that is continue to really follow the facts, follow the law, and take it on himself.
And again, I apologize. That's Brian Robinson. Now, we reached out to DA Fani Willis to get her reaction to this major decision. And she says, while I disagree with the decision of the Georgia Court of Appeals and the Georgia Supreme Court's divided decision not to review it, I respect the legal process and the courts. Accordingly, my office will make the case and file evidence available to the prosecuting attorney's counsel for use in the ongoing litigation. I hope that whoever is assigned to handle the case will have the courage to do what the evidence and law demand.
All right, folks, we're witnessing the end of the final political prosecution of President Donald Trump, with Fani Willis, that district attorney over there in Fulton County, Georgia, finally being disqualified from the case by the Georgia appeals courts, with them not even reviewing her flimsy excuses. We got this tweet here from Eric Daugherty with the breaking news headline saying, in a brutal loss, Fulton County DA Fani Willis was just permanently disqualified from prosecuting President Trump and his allies for the 2020 quote-unquote election interference by the Georgia Supreme Court. And this is one that we've seen coming for a very long time. This does not surprise or shock anyone at all. And immediately following that appeals court ruling, we had President Trump and the Georgia Attorney General weighing in on their final decision.
Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr, he says, quote, last year we urged the Georgia Supreme Court to reject the Fulton County District Attorney's appeal after she was rightfully removed from the prosecution of President Trump. Today's decision is the correct one, and the district attorney is now permanently disqualified from the case due to her own self-inflicted mistakes. When prosecutors use their office to advance a political agenda, the system as a whole suffers. Carr goes on to say, quote, it's why we supported the creation of the Prosecuting Attorneys Qualifications Commission to ensure acts of misconduct are addressed and those who fail to uphold their duties are held accountable. He concludes this statement by saying, quote, lawfare of any kind cannot stand.
Well, that was a great decision. It was a rigged case to start off with. It's great. The court just ruled that she is a disaster. She's a disaster with a boyfriend. The boyfriend that she paid $1 million for his expertise, but he never did it before. Now, she should be prosecuted. What she did to people, forget about me, what Fani Willis did to innocent people, patriots that love our country, what she did to them by indicting them and destroying them, she should be put in jail. She's a criminal. Fani Willis is a criminal.
And folks, this was ultimately the correct decision here. We all know that Fani Willis could not remain impartial in this case to save her life. She was conflicted from Jump Street, but here's the kicker in all of this. This is not the end of Fani Willis's legal trouble, as she is still the subject of other lawsuits pertaining to this case, with the Judicial Watch now seeking records to determine whether or not she colluded with the Biden White House and Nancy Pelosi's J6 committee.
It's our remarkable and successful effort to expose the full truth about what Fani Willis was up to in her illicit, in my view, targeting of Trump and abusive targeting of Trump and unethical targeting and handling of the Trump cases. It's just remarkable success as a result of one FOIA lawsuit, one open records lawsuit under the Open Records Act of Georgia. Now, we knew or suspected that Fani Willis was coordinating with the Biden operation, Jack Smith, and the Pelosi January 6th operation. We asked for records, and she denied she had records, didn't even show up once we sued for the records in court. She was found in default, which means you didn't answer the darn lawsuit, which is just incredibly, let's put it this way. Judicial Watch has been doing this work for 31 years, hundreds of FOIA lawsuits, and we pretty darn well know about other FOIA lawsuits out there. The idea that a government agency of any type would just not show up and answer a FOIA lawsuit, be found in default, is historic in a bad way. But that's what Fani Willis did in her office, and she was found in default and ordered to pay us $22,000 as a result. But it didn't stop there. As I was talking about last week, there was a hearing, and because we wanted a special master to oversee the the records of the case, because she said initially, I don't have records. And then she said, oh, we do have records, but you can't have them.
And now we have Judicial Watch coming out saying that the court is now raising new questions about Fani Willis's Trump anti-collusion record scandal. And let's jump off into the good stuff, guys. We got Judicial Watch announcing earlier today that a Georgia state court ordered Georgia District Attorney Fani Willis to provide new information and potentially conduct a new search for Trump-related records because of her recent affidavit to the court that made no reference to whether any searches of the devices of former Fulton County Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade, also known as her lover boy or boyfriend, or those of Chief Investigator Michael L. Hill, who was also involved in gathering evidence and coordinating investigative efforts and likely met with the January 6th committee. It says the court order was issued in Judicial Watch, a lawsuit filed after Willis falsely denied having any records responsive to Judicial Watch's earlier Georgia Open Records Act request for communication with Special Counsel Jack Smith's office and the January 6th committee. March 7, 2025, court order directed Willis to turn over 212 pages of records and provide an affidavit detailing how the records were found and the reason for withholding them from the public. The records were belatedly found in response to Judicial Watch's request and lawsuit.
So there were like half-baked searches. They didn't know where they were looking. They didn't look completely. It was a complete disaster. They didn't show up, and then they're playing games and being dishonest with Judicial Watch, in my view, the court. So that's why we wanted a special master, someone to oversee the search. So the court had the hearing, as we talked about, and he orally ordered them to turn over the new records that they found, 212 pages of records. But then he issued a written order that not only, kind of verified his oral order, but slammed Fani Willis's misconduct in this case.
In a February 28th hearing, Willis's lawyers admitted to finding records after what was believed to be a fifth search of her office. The court then awarded Judicial Watch $21,578 in attorney's fees and costs. So basically what this all means, we're going to sum this up. It means Fani Willis did not do her job in turning over these records. I mean, what else are we to believe? But there was some sort of foul play at hand here with Fani Willis. Judicial Watch is basically saying we're entitled to these records, through the Open Act or Open Records Request Act. And we're seeing that Fani Willis is just blatantly saying no, not even appearing in court. This thing is seriously getting bad, especially when you see that Judicial Watch is not going to stop until they get these records. They're just trying to see, examine the records to see if there was any sort of collusion with the Biden Justice Department, the Jack Smith or with Jack Smith or the J6 committee. But Fani Willis is just refusing to comply. And now we're going to hop over into what Judicial Watch had to say in response to this. And also I have firsthand court footage from this case with Fani Willis. I want to play that on the back end, guys. So we're not straight off into what Judicial Watch had to say on this first.
Well, Fani Willis just confessed to having records of her communications with the January 6th Pelosi operation, the Get Trump operation. She only confessed to this yesterday thanks to a Judicial Watch lawsuit. Of course, when we first sued and began asking for these records, they told us they had no records. Well, it turns out that wasn't true. In fact, the only reason we got the confession yesterday was because a court last week found her in default. She didn't bother to answer the lawsuit under law as she was supposed to. But rather than turn the records over, as the court, I think, strongly suggested, she's using a loophole of exemptions and privileges to hide the records from the American people. Now, we're going to push back hard in court. Our heavy lifting will continue. But in the meantime, this really does confirm, A, she was in collusion with the Pelosi operation to get Trump. B, she has no respect for the rule of law. C, she has no respect for your right to know.
All right, yeah, so that was Judicial Watch on this case, and they're basically saying they're not going to back down. It's taken over 5 requests to get just a little bit of evidence or records that Fani Willis has turned over, which then leads Judicial Watch to believe that there's even more records that are being withheld. I mean, if you had to request them over 5 times for her to even, be willing to send a little bit of records that she sent over, I mean, one is just to believe there is more being withheld behind the scenes, and the judge seems to agree in this whole court case. I'm going to play that clip now so you guys can see the judge's take, his perspective on this whole situation with Fani Willis just blatantly not complying.
I agree with that. Okay. So I think you said earlier in your preliminary remarks what our big concern is we don't have any confidence in the universe of documents. I mean, you found in the order awarding attorneys' fees that they responded without doing a search and then didn't even do a search until after the complaint was filed. They don't have any records of what they searched. They say they didn't search even the cell phones of the 6 people that they knew were involved in some communication or dialogue or something with the January 6th committee. And then when you ordered them to do, I think what would have amounted to like the 5th search, when they previously said they don't have any records at all, privileged or otherwise, now they say they have some records that are privileged. It's just very difficult to have any confidence. Oh, and they said they didn't know how to use the Cellbrite technology to do kind of forensic searches, even though
that's what they do
technology, and they presumably use it a lot. And
they do with every cell phone that they seize from a murder defendant.
Exactly.
Right.
So that tells me that there might be a technological issue. So we think a special master is going to be required for a couple of reasons. One is the horrible lack of confidence in their searching capabilities or efforts that they're putting into it. And if they turn over the 55 documents to you and you say, yep, those are privileged, fine, we're done. Like you said, there might be 5,500 out there that they should have produced and didn't. And then because of the apparent lack of knowledge, at least with the people that do the searches, of using this technology that they have available to them, a special master might be needed to provide technological support. And the person you appoint as a special master then might have to consult with somebody else on how to do that. But
right, probably the latter. Well, I'll cut you short on that. I've never heard Mr. Monroe say there are no such exceptions. I think his concern has been, and he'll correct me, he's good at doing that, is, well, how do we know that? And it's kind of suspicious that you have no documents and then no documents because we didn't search, and then we did search and we have no documents, and then everything except what he gave the DA's office is somehow accepted. But if I'm making it up, but if they are all attorney-client privilege documents, they are all accepted from disclosure. To me, that's not the controversial part. It's developing a comfort level that they don't just now have a red stamp on it that says attorney-client privilege, that if we carbon dated it was affixed 2 weeks ago rather than when that document was generated.
I appreciate that, yes. Thing to search. I'm troubled by the fact that we're still leaving the DA's office to its own devices on how to do the search, especially with the track record.
Sure. I'm I appreciate that. And it may well be that after I've had a chance to look at the 212 pages and you and I both are able to process what's submitted through the county attorney's office about the specifics of the, I'm gonna call it the search protocol, things that were done to yield these documents, that a step that I direct is that Mr. Bowman needs to go in there and hit go on the search as well to confirm that that's what comes up. I'm not there yet, but you are not being conspiracy minded in my mind to say it's a little odd that we're suddenly saying, okay, on the fifth go around, they meant it when they said, no, we researched thoroughly this time. So you should continue to be the skeptic and voice that skepticism. I'm trying to help everyone paint the picture of what does this latest effort really look like.
Yo, there we have it, guys. Oh my goodness, we're finally seeing the end of this failed election interference attempt coming from that Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis. But something's telling me this is not the end of the line for old Fani Willis's legal trouble, as we have President Donald Trump now calling for her arrest and prosecution, and we also have multiple open records requests still pending to see whether or not she colluded with Nancy Pelosi's J6 committee in the Biden White House. Only time will truly tell in this one. You guys know we'll cover any updates to come right here with your boy RetroStef, guys, but definitely hop in that comment section. Comments are open, and I'm excited to hear what you guys are thinking on this one. Also, make sure you guys please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd enjoy more content like this, catch you guys on the next one week.